You guys can listen to it. Hey.
This campaign is listening to a people whose suffering gets almost no voice and no hearing at all, and that is the Native American people. All of you know that from before this country became a country, the first settlers came here, Native Americans were lied to, they were cheated, and treaties they negotiated were broken. The Native American community has given us so much that we cannot ever repay the debt of gratitude that we have taught us people. They have taught us, among many other things, that as human beings, we are part of nature. We must coexist with nature. And that the human species will not survive if we continue destroying nature. But today, despite all that they have given us on reservations throughout this country and in Native American communities, unemployment and poverty rates off the charts, suicide rates for young people at a horrific level, we will, if elected president, change our relationship to the Native American people.
Trying to keep this area clear for people with disabilities. So if you
sure.
Yeah, find a spot on the grass that way. There's much more room over yonder. So thank you so much for coming.
Donald Trump is not quite right when he thinks it is a hoax developed by the Chinese. He is not even close to being right. Climate change is real, and for the sake of our kids and our grandchildren, we are going to have the courage to take on the fossil fuel industry and tell them that their short-term profits are not more important than the future of this planet. I am very proud to have introduced the most comprehensive climate change legislation in the history of the United States Senate. And I believe because we are dealing, in my view, with a planetary environmental crisis, we have got to act boldly and aggressively. Or else we are going to see more drought, more floods, more extreme weather disturbances, more destruction of the oceans, more rising sea levels, more international conflict as people fight over limited natural resources. Now that is why in my legislation we have a tax on carbon. If we are serious about cutting carbon emissions, we need a tax on carbon. I would hope very much that Secretary Clinton would show the courage to join me and fight for a tax on carbon. And by the way, when we talk about environmental crises, this water issue is another crisis that we're going to have to deal with. All over this country, all over the world, there is a growing struggle for clean drinking water, and that is why I believe we have got to end fracking. And I would hope that Secretary Clinton changes her view and supports me in the need to end fracking. One country in the industrialized world, one wealthy country that does not guarantee health care to all people, you are living in it. Now, it is hard for me to understand if the United Kingdom, France, Germany, Holland, Scandinavia, Canada, every major country on earth can guarantee health care to all of their people, rich or poor. I don't understand why the United States cannot do the same. Now, the Affordable Care Act has done some very good things, but we have got to go further. Today, 29 million Americans have no health insurance. Many of you are underinsured with high deductibles and co-payments. And all of us are being ripped off by the greed of the pharmaceutical industry. Want to hear crazy? Crazy is 1 out of 5 Americans getting a prescription from their doctor and not being able to afford that prescription. Crazy is senior citizens in Oregon and in Vermont cutting their pills in half because they don't have the money to afford the medicine they need. Crazy is last year, the 3 top drug companies made $45 billion in profit. The United States has got to join the rest of the industrialized world. We need a Medicare for all single-pay program. May not believe that the American people have the guts to take on the insurance companies or take on the drug companies. I disagree. We can do it. Everybody here knows that real change in this country has never come from the top on down. It has always come from the bottom on up. That is the history of America. Well over 100 years ago, when workers in Oregon, Vermont, all over this country were being ruthlessly exploited, when they were working 7 days a week, 14 hours a day, when children were working in factories or in the fields, working people stood up and they said, you know what? We're not beasts of burden, we're human beings. We want dignity, we're going to form trade unions. And the trade union movement has helped develop the middle class of this country. Nobody gave it to those workers, they stood and fought for them. 200 years ago, in the midst of the abomination of slavery, African Americans and their allies said, the day will come, and we're going to make that day come sooner or later, where we're going to end not only slavery, but segregation and racism and discrimination and bigotry. And millions of people, decade after decade, stood up, fought back, went to jail, were killed, were beaten, were lynched, but they said, we will create a non-racist society. It is easily forgotten that 100 years ago today, in America, women did not have the right to vote, did not have the right to get the education or the jobs they wanted. This is less than 100 years ago. Society had determined, the establishment had determined, that a woman's place was in the house having babies. But women said, no. And women had the courage to go on hunger strikes, go to jail. Some of them died in the struggle. And they and their male allies said that in America, women will not be second-class citizens. That's how change takes place. If we were here 10 years ago, no time at all, we were here in this beautiful park, somebody jumps up and says, you know, Bernie, I think that in the year 2015, gay marriage will be legal in 50 states in this country. Now, if somebody said that 10 years ago, sure as heck, person next to him would have said, you are crazy, what are you smoking? But what happened is the gay community and their straight allies stood up, fought back, and they said that in America, and they did this against incredible hatred to which we see today in North Carolina, Mississippi. They did this and they said that in America, people will have the right to love whomever they want, regardless of their gender. That's how change comes about. If we were here, let me give you an even more contemporary example. If we were here 5 years ago, and somebody jumps up and says, you know, Bernie, this federal minimum wage of $7.25, that's a starvation wage. We have got to raise that federal minimum wage to $15 an hour. Person next to her would have said, $15 an hour? You want to more than double the minimum wage? You are out of your mind. You're thinking too big. You're crazy. You're too radical. Maybe we can get $9 an hour, maybe 10, 11 bucks, 15 too high. But then what happened is 2 years ago in Seattle, $15 an hour. San Francisco, Los Angeles, $15 an hour. California, New York State, your state moving in the right direction, $15 an hour. So what is the point of my short historical lesson? It is a very simple point. The establishment will always tell us that real change is impossible. It can't happen. Don't think big, think small, think incrementally. You really have no power, not much you guys can do. All right, I like that. Now, I myself can't phrase it exactly like that. That's not bad. But here's what the story is and what's going on in this country, which is what today is about, why the thousands of people are here today, and we're seeing crowds like this all over America. This is what's going on. People are catching on.
Yeah!
They are catching on that the choice that we face as Americans is not a debate over whether we cut health care or whether we cut food stamps or education. That is not our choice. Our choice is whether we tell the billionaires they're going to start paying their fair share of taxes. The American people all over this country are catching on. We do not have to accept the grotesque levels of income and wealth inequality we now see. We do not have to see the middle class continue to decline and almost all new income and wealth going to the top 1%. We do not have to see women making 79 cents on the dollar compared to men. We do not have to accept institutional racism and having more people in jail than any other country. We do not have to be the only major country on earth without paid family and medical leave. We do not have to be the only major country that does not guarantee health care for all. We can be the country that leads this world in saving the planet and transforming our energy system. is radical. None of this stuff is not supported by a majority of the American people. What this campaign is about is saying that now is the time to think big, not small. That now is the time not just to elect a new president, but to transform America. That now is the time to create a government that works for all of us, not just the 1%. On May 17th, there is going to be a very important primary here in the state of Oregon. Obviously, your early voting and your mail-in ballots have begun immediately. Here's the story. What we have found out during this campaign is when voter turnout is high, we win. When voter turnout is low, we lose. Now, we have already won 17 primaries and caucuses all over this country. All over this country, states have said, we are tired of establishment politics and establishment economics. We are prepared for the political revolution. On May 17th, let us have a huge voter turnout here in Oregon. Let this great state go forward with the political revolution.
That's it, folks. Sorry for the poor footage. I was able to get some that was good. I just couldn't stand for too long, and my hand was shaking too much. And also my camera, I think, the actual lens, I think, was bouncing around because it was trying to, like, capture faces, I guess. I need to figure out how to turn that off, but anyway, this is it from Island Park. See you later.